I was a homeless teenager, out on the street, sleeping here, sleeping there, doing whatever, and I mean whatever, to get to the next day. I've survived a lot of things, man.
Where are you from originally?
Well, actually, I'm a Southern boy. I'm a Virginia Jet. I was born in Richmond, Virginia, but I was a brat. I was the child of a Air Force brat. You know what I mean? You know, career Air Force. And so I grew up in Europe as a small kid. We lived in France. And that was during the time of de Gaulle, before he kicked out all the American bases and everything. So you're talking about late 50s, early 60s, then it was done. He got them all out. So I had a kind of a French country experience, and that's when I first learned about arts and music, because it was a refuge for the abuse that I was having to endure in a home situation. So I'm a survivor of abuse. You know, on all levels, on all the ugly levels of it. I'm a living, standing, been there, done that, and I'm still here. You know, I ain't no shame in my game. You know, but you can move on. And when the anger finally released itself, I was 13 years old, and I was getting ready to commit murder.
Okay. Where was this?
It's not important where it was, but this was within my family.
Okay.
And I literally bought myself a knife with a blade that long, and I said, if you put your hands on me again, motherfucker, I will cut your head off, put it in the oven, bake it, and feed it to Jabba, our dog. 13.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of my house. I would go. Now, what was interesting about me is the fact that everybody knew I was musically gifted and artsy, you know, and all that. So everybody thought that I came from some bourgeois, upper crust, you know, black elite.
Okay.
Police call every weekend, fights, drunks, every kind of situation you could be. I was headed to be a statistic. And I think had I committed murder, I would have been one. I was right down that road. I was from the hood, you know, in the projects, you know.
What changed your path?
Well, number one, I had, when I was experiencing all that abuse, I had a spiritual awakening. It was a day of enduring abuse, and I was beaten so bad that all my blood was splattered all up on the wall, and I had defecated on myself, and I was whipped raw with an electrical cord. My jaws were out to this because I had just been a punching bag. I was ready to give up. I was ready to commit suicide as a kid. So you know that John Lennon tune, In Times of Trouble, Mother Mary appears to me? Mm-hmm. Blink, right, standing right there. Blue. And she told me that I needed to experience these things because there are great plans for me, and as an artist, I have to be truthful and know all the depths of humanity on all its levels. That's why sometimes you're born into situations as an artistic person. I think all artistic persons have the explosion, I call it, where there's some kind of conflict that propels you forward. And I mean, I never forgot it, and I can always go back to it, and it's been such a guide and balm to calming my stormy black ass down. And how can you sit and tell people about this stuff? I've told a few people, and they're like, yeah, right, he kind of weird. So I was on my own. And I lived with everybody knew our situation, but back in those days, people just did like this. and they turn their head. You know, now you have abuse and everything that they put your ass in jail, put you under the jail. Of course, I ended up not being close to anybody in my family. And both of my parents died last year. And I hadn't spoken to my father in 40 years. I hadn't spoken to my mother in 15. Because they never changed. You see, as much as I wanted them to change, every time I went back, I was right back there, that little kid. You understand? And I kept experiencing that same pain, and they just didn't get it. I said, fuck it. That's it. You know, you get to a point, and parenting, I tell everybody who's a parent, the best thing you can do, there are no guarantees, but you got to grow with your children. You know, I'm not little Jerome at 8 years old when I'm fucking 40. Some parents are, especially people who abuse, they're stuck in this kind of pattern. You know, the abusers, you know what I'm saying? And it was so ugly and hideous that I didn't want nothing to do with it.
At some point in your childhood, drug abuse entered, right?
Drug? Oh, well, you live in the hood, shit. That's a rite of passage. And so when I was a little over 12 years old, I was forced to take heroin. They were all getting the vein and, you know, and cooking the dope on a damn spoon and whatnot and sticking it, sharing all them needles, them warts. And then it came in my mouth, like, I'm scared of needles. I'm just petrified of needles. I can't stand nothing because I've seen so many drug addicts with them needles. Said, you gonna snort this, motherfucker, you gonna snort it. Go ahead and let him snort it. Let him snort it. So I said, well, shit, I could just fake this, you know, I don't snort this shit. I saw they doing TV on the movies, you know what I mean? I'm puffing up my little chest. So I ended up snorting it, and then y'all looked at me because they want to make sure you ain't a narc. And if you snorting it with them, you ain't going to the police, you know, and telling them what they're doing. You wouldn't anyway because you would never live. You'd be dead within an hour. So all of a sudden, I snorted that shit, and nothing was happening. I was thinking, you know. So all of a sudden, the next thing I know, the room started going like that, man. And I was like that, and, you know, then I threw up, I think, a couple of times. And those same guys, after they left, they went out and shot a cab driver, robbed him to get money for more drugs. And I was supposed to go with them, and I didn't. The niggas killed my sister. Wasn't a white police, it wasn't a white man. Some little motherfucker with his pants hanging, his ass and drawers hanging out, and butt hanging out and shit, looking bad, being Mr. Man. Day before Thanksgiving, down in Maryland, drug dealer trying to get away from the fucking police. High-speed police. She's single mother, 4 kids, coming home with the Thanksgiving turkey. He hit the median strip and came right through and decapitated my sister. Now, who had to go to that motherfucker morgue in Maryland to identify the body? Me. That's why you hear music stays constantly. I'm never in silence. Because the perpetual silence I've seen, you know that there's something more than death is not the end. Because all I heard it saying is, don't let nobody see me like this.
When did you pick up the cello?
I picked up the cello when we lived in France. What happened was, it was another day of abuse, and we had an excursion to go to Paris to hear l'Orchestre Paris. And I was sitting there, and, you know, just sitting, you know, of course, you know, I'm one of the few black kids there in the thing, and orchestra started playing, and all of a sudden I heard the cello. It was the sound, and I was like, where's that sound coming? What is that? And my eyes just looked, and I could see them playing this beautiful melody, and it was so mesmerizing that I literally went into a trance. I mean, I was in a state of ecstasy. There was something very holy about it and sanctified about it. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They I got involved in the school music program, and one thing led to another. But I'm a product of the old day school music programs.
Okay.
And I'm a product from there. I went to, the youth orchestra things, in Washington, D.C. And mind you, I had friends who came from parents who could afford them to study with people in the National Symphony and everything. And I never had a formal teacher. But my friend Joel would give me his etude books every time he finished an etude and give them to me. And then I would just sit down and figure the shit out. And so I was the only black, played in the high school orchestra. We would play all that old Beethoven. We had a very good conductor. We had really, really, really a good high school at the time. I was in a black high school that was for the gifted blacks. And then I wanted to go to a more open, because, as growing up in France, I was used to being around all types of people, you understand. White folks didn't scare me. Now the kids coming up are so multicultural, they're multiracial. It wasn't like that in my day. And remember, I'm from the King days and the Civil Rights days and the marches and everything. So, but I was eventually became a product of what was then called the high school. It was called the Workshop for Careers in the Arts, which became the Duke Ellington School of Performing Arts, and they saved me. I don't know if you know Debbie Allen. Was a big star, two-time Tony winner. She was my jazz teacher, and she's a good big mentor. I had so many great mentors, and now the school is run by Peggy Cooper K-Fritz, who we've just been in contact, and she just said, will you please send me your Beethoven poster? What you did in Carnegie. I just played all the 5 Beethoven sonatas last season. She says, we really want to put it up in the Duke Ellington School. I'm no different than nobody else. A lot of people have had trying lives and everything, but I can tell you, I'm one of the guys that the arts really, really saved me. And if it can save me, now, people, you got to put in your work. You see, so when I didn't have the training that all my other friends had, my success was a slow developing one, as opposed to these guys were like playing concertos and shit at, age 10. So by the time I got a scholarship to the New England Conservatory, I went in there and I was like, I'm black with a dashiki on, big old afro and whatnot, and they were petrified of me. Because most of them ain't never been around no black folks. Except only black folks, and it was on TV, JJ on Good Times. That was it. And so I was the slow bloomer, the one that was, I'm the long shot horse,
So after this schooling, then what?
I went to, I got schooling. I won scholarships. Now, this is a funny story. All my friends, their parents knew my situation, and it was always open. Jerome, if you ever need anything, come show up at 5 o'clock. We have dinner, bro. And this, I had Jewish friends, I had black friends, I had Asian friends. I had because I was an artist. All my Asian friends, the payment was I had to do portraits of their mother or their family members or whatnot. I'd get a good ass dinner and whatnot. It was really beautiful. A lot of old white friends, and then of course I played in a rock band. Oh, and then, but I had a good cadre of guys. Remember, and I'm probably older than anybody here. I mean, I'm from the Woodstock days, man. I'm in my 60s. And so back in the day, I mean, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, Grateful Dead, The Who, all of them, they were my heroes too.
And you got to Lancaster?
I got to Lancaster when I finally retired out of the Army, because I did retire. I stayed in there over 20 years, and I got injured in the Army. And so what happened was I got turned onto this Lebanon VA, which is supposedly one of the best hospitals on the East Coast. And I started coming. So I said, well, I bought a place in Lebanon. I didn't know nothing about the town. Other than I bought a big ass 6-bedroom mansion.
So from Lebanon you came?
I left Lebanon. I sequestered myself up for 15 years and painted. I locked the house, locked the door, and painted and practiced the cello. For 15 years, I just, bam! Nobody saw me. I went through serious depression. I went through a lot of horrible things, but I did it. Fed a lot of the hungry kids there. I see kids out on the shop. What the hell are you doing out here? Oh, I don't know. Did you eat? No, I didn't eat. You know, parents all drugged up and whatnot. I took every one of them kids to school. Oh, Mr. Wright, I remember what you did and whatnot. I said, it ain't what I did. I said, you know, I was a hungry kid myself. You see, the bigger picture of things, when it comes around to you again, you got to recognize. If you don't recognize, then you know what I mean? You don't have no luck. A lot of people wonder, oh, a bunch of shit happened to them. It's because they don't, their eyes are closed.
The 15 years of painting and working on the cello. So where's this stuff now? Do you have displays now?
Oh, my stuff is in museums. You know, I had a solo show here at the Wear Center about 5 years ago. Jane Holahan reviewed it. It was one of the best reviews I ever got. You can find it online, whatnot. So I have people interested in New York. My work is in the permanent collection in the Charles Wright Museum of African American History, in Detroit. Private collectors and permanent collections and whatnot. Oh yeah, my work is out there and I'm recognized. You go online, Jerome Wright artist painting.
Okay. So tell me about the first time you played Carnegie, though. That had to be an impression.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. The first time I played Carnegie, management offered me a shot to hear me. You know what I mean? And you said, well, you know, we'll give you a, you know, trial concert, you know, see how you do. You know what I mean? My debut was sold out. Walked out on that stage, and I said, my God, this is the same stage that Marian Anderson walked on. And I have a picture of her in the same thing from 1940 and whatnot. And when I first got to the hall, actually, they give you time to rehearse a few days before. And I just fell on my knees. And I said, I got to make friends with this hall. We played a very difficult playground. We played the Opus 69, Beethoven, Big Four movement work, the A major sonata, the very famous sonata. Then we played the Chopin sonata. Then we came back and played the great Rachmaninoff. By the time the concert ended, everybody was standing on their feet, and we got standing ovations, and I was just stunned. I could not hardly stand up.